Hey, welcome back to Matt's Garage DIY. Today, we're going to make a solo clay trap thrower. So when I have some spare time out at the farm, I like doing a little bit of trap shooting. But the single-hand wooden throwers, not always the best. Definitely need a second person there with you. I don't always have that. Absolutely, clay trap shooting is great when you have a bunch of people out there, but there's times where, I just finished a day's work and I want to shoot off a few rounds and have some fun. Don't always have people around. Mrs. DIY is not always available to come and throw traps for me. So recently I was at a gun show and swap meet, and I found this, an old Outers string release clay trap machine. Picked this up, it was 20 bucks. I thought that was a steal of a deal. Somebody's re-welded or welded up a good heavy duty frame for this. But I wanted to figure out a way that I could make this a one-person operation. So doing a quick look online, I see you can buy solo clay trap throwers for anywhere from like $1.99 to $4.99 Canadian dollars. But I didn't want to spend that much, especially when I had a $20 project to start with. So getting back to the roots of kind of the channel, that turned this into a DIY project. I picked up a cheap bass drum pedal online. I think that was about $30. And then another $10 for a bicycle chain if you have a used bike around that you can pull a chain off of. So we're going to put this all together, see what we can do. My hope is that I can have this thing fully functional for under $100. I think right now I'm at $60 all in. So yeah, we're going to see how this goes. I'm going to show you kind of how I build this. I am going to be doing a little bit of welding. I think some of the things I'm going to do would be probably tough to do without a welder. But, it's with some angle and some nuts and bolts, you probably could duplicate the same thing. So just going to take you along on the project, and then at the end we'll take it back out to the farm, fire it off, and see how it works. Here's the idea. I've just strapped a couple weight plates to this to kind of hold it down, because obviously I can't drive those legs into the ground. I've just loosely hooked up the chain on the release mechanism, and then I just have it wired to the brake drum pedal. This is basically just to see if what I'm thinking about is even going to work. So let's give it a try. Seems okay. I did have to put a fair bit of pressure on that brake drum pedal, so I'm not convinced that's going to work. So we may look at a different pedal, but in theory, this is going to work. All right, so as you can see from that little demo with the bass drum pedal, not really sure that's going to work out. I don't feel like that's going to be heavy duty enough, but hey, the best thing about DIY projects is getting figured out as you go along. So I'm going to just make a sort of a pedal that's attached to the back and hinges. So let me start showing you what I'm doing with that. So I'm going to start by cutting some angle iron to kind of make the foot pedal. As I went to go find my grinder, I realized I lent it to my neighbor. So I guess we're doing this the old school way. One down, 4 more to go. Okay, so I've tacked a couple pieces together just so I could kind of clamp it in place and show you what I was thinking. Basically, I'm going to have these two pieces of angle. That's my sides. I'm going to have this plate at the back. That will be the foot pedal portion. And then I've got to trim this piece down a little bit, but that is going to mount in between the legs right about there. Here's a look at the pedal. I'm going to be using a long carriage bolt for my hinge point. Just going to include a washer kind of on each side, just sort of between the legs and the actual body of the trap thrower. I've ended up changing out this piece. On one of the earlier clips I just showed, I just had a piece of flat bar, but then I found this, it's just part of an old lawnmower belt release thing, but it has this nice little tab and hole already for my return spring, so that's going to work out great. Here's another look at that. I've now just kind of really tightened up my nut on the carriage bolt just to hold those legs in place, so you can kind of see where we're progressing to with all of this. But that's kind of a look at this. I did want to point out at this point, I'm not providing kind of exact measurements. I'm building this off of a frame that somebody else made. Things aren't going to be exactly square. I'm just going to be talking about sort of the concepts and the ideas, things that I'm sort of specifically paying attention to while I build this. So hopefully you're going to find this helpful. I think the frame that I'm using is about 2 feet long and about 1.5 feet wide. But really, you can kind of make whatever you want. And it's just sort of the theories or the concepts that we'll be talking about with this. As we look at the release mechanism itself, you can see I've put this little dab of white paint there. When I pull this back, that is the point that this lever needs to go back to release the trap thrower itself. So I marked that earlier, kind of tested it. That's how far that needs to go back. So what I need to do when I'm making the linkage and the attachment, I need to make sure that my lever on my foot pedal, I want it to be probably the same height, so that sort of the mechanics of it work the same. I don't want to kind of create any binding points. But then when this pulls back, I'll probably have it pull a little bit past that, but I'm going to create a stop so that I'm not doing this every time that I release that or I step on that pedal. So I'm going to measure the travel now to pass the white paint. So I need to go to about there. So roughly 1.5 inches, maybe just over 1.5 inches. So that is, I want to have sort of that matching travel on the leg on my foot pedal. So with the linkage leg kind of tacked onto my pedal, now what I'm going to try to do, basically by moving this piece forward or backward, I just have it kind of clamped all in place. As this rotates down, the bottom leg of this angle is going to hit against the frame. So what I want to do is sort of determine what sort of gap I need in here so that when I push this down and it hits, I will still get that 1.5 inches travel. So let's look at what we've got so far. We've got the pedal with the spring release all hooked up. I have put a little stop plate right here. That just prevents the pedal from sort of over-returning, so to speak. So we'll take a quick look at the other side real quick so you can see that. There you go. This is a look at the other side. Again with that spring-loaded pedal. So last thing I need to do is hook up the linkage. So I'll use my bicycle chain. I think probably at this end I'm going to attach a bit of a threaded bolt and then just drill a hole through this leg so that there is a little bit of like slack adjustment that I have if I need to tighten up that chain at all. So here's a look at the linkage. I've just used the master link at this end for that connection, and then here I just spread the bolt, slid a link on, cut off the extra chain, and I now have this nut right at the end that I can use to adjust. Okay, got some weight strapped on this thing. Gonna try out that pedal. Now that works great. By using this type of a pedal where I can just push at the end, almost no, like very light foot pressure to release that, this is gonna be great. So I'm gonna finish up all the welds, give this a quick shot of paint, and then we'll take it out to the farm and start shooting some traps. Here's a quick look at some of the pieces. Up front, you have the original release catch or release mechanism. Then we have the linkage chain, small fine-tuning adjustment available with the little nut at the back of that, and the foot pedal at the rear. The release or the return spring, sorry, that helps just to lift that pedal back up, snap that back into place, and then to prevent the pedal from over-returning, I have a little stop on the far side. All right, first trap is set. Let's see how this works. All right, that worked really well actually. Pretty light pressure on that pedal. Really just kind of almost have to tap that with your toe to drop it, so that's great. I am going to have to tighten up the spring tension on the throwing arm. I loosened that right off while I was kind of building. I will see if I can actually hit some of these things. Actually, one more thing. I threw a set of doubles on there, tightened up that spring pressure. These are going to fly over that snowbank into my lawn to be found with the lawnmower sometime in the spring. All right, so you have it. Solo clay trap thrower. Great for some good times out at the farm or wherever you're going to be shooting. Anyways, hope you enjoyed the video. As always, click that like and subscribe. We'll see you on the next one.